Hey guys, switching Wednesday and Tuesday's videos this week just because Wednesday's taking a little bit longer to do than expected. I'm doing my take on Dishonored 2 and the editing's taking longer than I wanted to, so I figure it's a good time to talk Star Wars Rogue One. And excuse the video quality, I'm shooting this super quick and I couldn't get the lens flare to go off super Grover, so I tried to minimize it, and that meant a very dark room. So apologies, and the frame rate looks a little weird on the camera. Still working the bugs out, obviously, with this new shooting location. Anyway, Star Wars Rogue One. If the movie had ended maybe 10 minutes earlier, I would have liked it a lot better. I'm not going to do spoilers, so I'm going to be a little bit vague about that. This is just my impressions. This is not, oh my god, proper review. But I did feel like the big homage to war movies things took me out of the movie some. I know Star Wars is now high sci-fi art as opposed to, just a movie in its own right. And that's really frustrating because I think the first thing you do as a filmmaker is you tell your story. And what other people decide to make of that is up to them. You really can't do very much about that, and do attempt to at your own peril. It's great that they decided to do something different with the Star Wars movie. I thought the casting for the most part was really good. Donnie Yen is fantastic. He was my favorite part of the whole film, as well as the little alien cameos, including the Warwick Davis character, which was just awesome. That's what I go to see Star Wars for. And then, obviously, a message of, the good guys win most of the time, except in Empire Strikes Back, right? That's why it's the middle movie. But I did feel like the theme of hope was a bit heavy-handed and lacking in nuance. And it seemed out of step with a so-called darker turn at Star Wars. I thought the sort of nobility of duty was muddled in, certain things, and I'm sure people are going to politicize the crap out of it because there are definitely elements of revolutionaries like Fidel Castro, like Che Guevara, especially in the mentor turned sort of paranoid freak character played by Forrest Whitaker. And but I mean, the acting was mostly quite good. The noble rogue Han Solo type character, he didn't quite do it for me. At times he was great, at other times not so much. Overall, though, I enjoyed the performance until they started to have them make kind of moony eyes at each other, and I'm like, please don't, I don't need that. Not every movie with like a boy and a girl needs a romantic subplot, although I think there's something going on with a boy and a boy in it. It's subtle, kinda, sorta, but I think it's there. And the movie does, and this was the most important thing for me, does close two major plot holes in the Star Wars universe. And I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about them, but I'm not going to, just in case. One involves lightsabers, one involves the Death Star. That's all I'm gonna say. And I did think that the choice to put in digitally Peter Cushing, Grand Moff Tarkin, and the character at the end, it's all over the internet, but I'm not going to say it. I wish they hadn't done it. I wish they would have used point of view and behind the back shots to not show their faces, because whoa, uncanny valley on that digital animation. The character at the end, there is no need to show that character's face, and it was much cooler until they did. And then, that it was mainly the lip tracking for me, and the fact that the face was a little too still through most of the movie on Tarkin. But it just, every time it happened, it's like, and it's weird because I'm okay with that in a video game because everybody looks like that. But when one character looks like that, the skin is a little too smooth, the expressions are a little too still, it's eerie, right? And this is just sort of nitpicking because this is what nerds like me do, right? But overall, I thought it was a good movie, not a great movie. I think that the first three films in The Force Awakens are still, just from a purely emotional perspective, more near and dear to my heart than Rogue One was, because I got the sense that Rogue One was more strangled by its place in continuity than it needed to be. I thought the ending felt forced. I thought it was false drama, and I didn't see why it couldn't have had a different ending that made a little bit more sense and was a little bit more tuned in to the concept of hope, which was all over the freaking movie. And, and less sort of tied to, we have to make this darker. And I also am not sure, based on my own childhood experiences, sensitive kids, I don't think they should not see it. I do think they should be prepped before seeing it. That, there are sad moments, and I think they will enjoy it more if they're prepared, and the parents will enjoy it more, that they don't have this inconsolable child at the end. 'Cause, yeah, one scene in particular and one character in particular, I'm like, damn, that's not good for merchandising. But overall, it's a well-crafted movie. I don't think the dialogue's as cheesy as other people are saying it is. The dogfight is amazing. It's so good. It's like old school Star Wars dogfight with a level of Star Wars Battlefronts going on like at the same time. And the people they cast for the various pilots were really cool. They seemed like real everyman. It was awesome. It was this sort of fanish moment of wow, regular people are in a Star Wars movie again. This is really cool, instead of everybody being a famous face cameo, right? I thought it was cool that there's a guy with like a 70s stash, and there's a female pilot, and all those little things without it being too heavy-handed. Now, that being said, I thought the lead was good, but we gotta get away from this idea that Star Wars movie means female lead that looks like Carrie Fisher. And what's her name? Felicity Jones? I'm not really up on these actors. I deliberately did not watch a lot going into it, but maybe she just was the best person for the role. But I felt that the character could have been somebody of a different physical type. And I thought that would have done more to bring different types of girls into a U-shaped box of the Star Wars universe, because my one big complaint with the whole, yay, Star Wars is for girls now too, is before they said Star Wars was for girls, I thought Star Wars was for girls. And the minute you start saying Star Wars is for girls now, I'm like, okay, Star Wars is for light-skinned, brown-haired girls. There's very few other women who look like humans in Star Wars at this point. And that's fine for The Force Awakens, because it was an homage film on top of anything else. But at this point, we still have this thing in Star Wars where if you're a human in Star Wars, you're either a person of color or a woman, not both. And this is a barrier that really needs to be overcome, just because it is so glaring right now. Right? Like, okay, Carrie Fisher was Carrie Fisher. Nobody knew it was going to blow up in the way it did. But then you get Rey, who's very much in the Leia mold. And now you have Jyn, and they could all be related. And it's like, do the midichlorians just create Like the seer in Assassin's Creed, do they create this particular type of woman every single time? Because you guys know how I feel about, you know, the acceptable female heroine, the one that's safe for our daughters, just being a brown-haired, small-busted white woman every single time. Although Jin has kind of more hips than Ray did. She isn't teeny tiny. I bought it more when she kicks some ass, and I can't tell you why. I don't know if the fight coordination was better or just it was probably that the background of the character was she's a trained merc essentially, so it made sense. But I think the coolest part of the whole film was the tiny little Easter eggs all through it in terms of Star Wars lore that aren't super important unless you're a nerd and you're looking for it. You know, the possible shared origin of Vader's guard and the people walking around Jeddah City with the square heads, almost like they're cosplaying the Red Guard characters. Things like that were neat. I'm not going to get into too many of them in case you haven't seen the movie. I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. But overall, there were some things that I'm like, you are running out of chances, Disney Star Wars, to actually make this a thoughtful movie instead of a reason to print money. I forgave a lot in The Force Awakens. I'm still forgiving a lot in Rogue One, but I do agree with the review I read. I don't remember where. It was either the New York Times or the Toronto Star. Don't remember which one. But they basically said that Rogue One is, I think they said an okay movie. I'll say a good movie that people are going to be convinced is great. And if you loved it, that's awesome. There's nothing not to like about it. I just think that it was this far off of a great movie. I would even say The Force Awakens was a great movie for what it was. I don't feel like Rogue One was... It didn't go all the way with anything. The Force Awakens knew exactly what it wanted to be. It wanted to be an episode 4 homage flick. Awesome, fine, good. But The Force Awakens, not The Force Awakens, Rogue One had certain pretensions to homages to Apocalypse Now and Platoon and other war movies that, unless you're gonna go for an R rating, don't quite work. And of course they're not gonna do an R-rated Star Wars movie. They do an R-rated Star Wars game, maybe, or an M-rated Star Wars game. But an R-rated Star Wars movie, never gonna happen. So I think it was something of the wrong genre because they can't go there. They can't really show the horrors of war, which is what all those films were doing, right? And of course there's all this political stuff in it. I'm personally surprised that the film is getting released in China. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a very edited version of China, in China, because there's definitely, I got, you know, shout outs to places like Syria and Tibet. And maybe it's so subtle that the Chinese government didn't catch it. I don't know. But that's not for me to decide. It doesn't matter. This kind of stuff doesn't matter. The themes are universal enough, in my opinion, that this was not intended to be a political brrr at anything. It was just a movie that's designed to quench people's Star Wars thirst between episodes 7 and episodes 8. And that's exactly what, you know, what it is. And I think that it's it met expectations on its opening weekend. So I'm hoping that they got this one under their belt. They've shown they can do it. They've shown audiences will see it, because in Hollywood there was some question about whether people would see a non-numbered canon Star Wars movie. Like any of us care if it's a number, we just want Star Wars. But I hope that the subsequent standalone films are less concerned about pleasing everybody, because that's just not possible. If you're gonna go dark, go dark. If you're gonna go nihilistic, go nihilistic. Because right now, I just feel like it's this in-between, you know, it's like a gingerbread cookie that's just a sugar cookie with ginger and cinnamon in it, as opposed to the proper gingerbread with like the molasses and, you know, the proper raw sugar and all that stuff. There's a difference. One is a sugar cookie with ginger in it, and one is, you know, one is gingerbread. And if you like gingerbread, you don't want a sugar cookie with ginger in it. And so people who like war films are gonna feel like something's missing. And people who like the happy, you know, episode 4, episode 6, or even episodes 1, 2, and 3 are gonna feel that's not what I really see. And, you know, the people who want Empire is Empire, and nothing is ever going to be Empire Strikes Back but The Empire Strikes Back. And I want people to stop trying to make The Empire Strikes Back, because it never ends up being The Empire Strikes Back. Make your own movie. And case in point, for me, the best part of the whole experience was the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer before Rogue One even started. Oh my god, it looks hilarious. It looks better than the first one. They are totally embracing the nuts. They are totally embracing the cute with Rocket and Baby Groot. And they are totally playing up Drax the Destroyer, which I'm happy about, because that character took some heat after the first movie, and I really enjoyed it, but the critics were like, because he's played by a wrestler, and so he was the one that everybody could beat up on, and there was no talent agent or anything like that that would punish them for that. This is the way Hollywood works. And I felt like, I don't even know the guy's name, but the guy who played Drax, I thought he was underrated in that film, and so I was glad to see playing up that comedy and really going for it. It's just, this is our movie, and we are not trying to win any awards. We are just trying to give people a good time. And that's what I want. I am Groot.